Oh, wow. That one was really, it's a nice, crisp, drawn out.
It was like a little chime as well on your end.
Oh, I am so sorry for that. Heidi commented somewhere. Hey, Heidi, hope you're out there.
It's okay. I like the chime.
Yeah, it was a nice little chime. It was a chime along with your, along with that crisp beer opening, and beer chime. Heidi's in. Yes, Heidi, exactly, a beer chime.
Beer chime. I think we need to recreate that every week.
I think we should, to be honest. Well, yeah, actually, we should mix up. We should mix up the beer opening moment. Chris, we are back. FUMFA 48, unofficial welcome, pre-8 o'clock. We're at our 8 o'clock time now. For our summer hours, our sunny weather season. And also because this time last year, everything was like curfewed, lockdown, etc. And we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel now. So 8 p.m. is a good time, even for getting started in April, But Philip is like, what time is it? It's FUMFA time.
Right. Plus, he's out in that weird, like, mountain time,
Yeah, mountain time, whatever that is.
A very strange time zone.
Yeah, we love you, Philip. We're so happy that you're here with us. But Chris, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking. I think it's the same thing I had last time, actually. So nothing.
Oh.
PA. Did I have it last time? I'm not. Maybe I did.
Maybe I'm not sure. It's usually an IPA. It's got a big old hop on it.
Big old hop. Yeah. These are the guys from Hamden.
Oh, nice.
This is a very tasty beer, and they have, beer prices have like gone crazy. This one they've kept it at a very decent price, which I appreciate.
Hey. Very nice, It's nice that some things, stay at a good price when everything else is getting more expensive. We have a very interesting conversation happening in the chat right now where Philip is saying, did I beat mom and dad? Mom and dad, I think you did, well, Philip.
You commented before mom and dad. Hi, mom and dad. So, yeah, so in that sense, you did beat mom and dad. And there's Pete Nelson.
Pete Nelson is with us.
Sunday again. Pete didn't know what to do with himself last week.
Neither did we, Chris. It was Easter Sunday, but still nothing is normal because our world has still not gotten quite back to normal. And it just felt like a million years since our last live stream, didn't it?
I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did last week.
I don't know how we went a week without you. Like everything changed. A new month came. Vaccines opened up to everyone in Connecticut. I don't know. I did a million things. I aged so many years, but I'm just so glad to be back. It feels right to be here with you on Sunday.
I got my second jab, and it went well. And now as of tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm in the clear.
Thank God. Fully vaccinated. Fully
vaccinated.
For now.
For now,
Immune for now.
What about you? Did you get your shot?
I am getting mine on Wednesday. I was able to get a much sooner appointment, so I'll get my first one on Wednesday. I am so happy. I'm so excited. I hope everyone out there is getting vaccinated. And still staying safe as you're, enjoying the springtime out there. Chris, I am having one of my favorite springtime beverages. I like to sort of call this like a healthy, it's sort of like some sort of version of like maybe almost like a whiskey sour. It's basically lemonade with a shot of whiskey, but it's healthy. It's like a healthy sort of whiskey sour thing because I use stevia. Please, I don't recommend this to anyone, but it's a good drink. It's so gross.
Wait a second. So that
I mean,
makes it
there is
healthy.
sugar in the whiskey, obviously, but
I put a little sweet and low into my whiskey whenever I have my whiskey in there.
well, I was just
Makes
really
it healthy.
oh my god. Well, whiskey is supposed to be it's supposed to be like one of the alcohols that affects your blood sugar the least. So, some stevia is just it's terrible. I drink such weird things, you guys. You've heard the stories. You've heard the stories.
Yeah, it never
Anyhow,
knows.
anyway, Chris, it is 8 o'clock.
Yes, it
It's
is.
time for our official welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome to FUMFA 48. Tonight we have with us A.J. O'Connell. She's back with us. Her brand new book is out, and we're so excited to have her. And we also have with us Elena Dillon, who is also celebrating a new book and some other great stuff. And we're so excited to have them with us tonight.
Right, both of them returning veterans. Both from the second cohort.
Yes.
That's right.
The second best cohort. Very nice. Well, and Chris, can you tell us, before we get started tonight, before I read AJ's bio for us, can you tell us what's coming up and what's happening next week?
What's happening next week is, well, first of all, the great guests next week, right?
Oh, yes.
We've got another returning veteran, Pete Duval, one of our first ever readers, and we also, and he has a new book out, an award-winning collection.
Award-winning deposition.
And then we have poet Anton Yakovlev.
Did I say that correctly? Yes, you did.
And he's reading some poems.
Some poems, maybe some translations, and super excited to have him. He's part of the Carmine Street Metrics community,
cool.
From which we welcomed Wendy Sloan a few weeks ago. So very excited to have him.
She's great. Yep. Unfortunately, I will not be here for that.
Oh. And why? Why is that, Chris?
And I, calm yourselves out there, loyal listeners. Well, I'm going to be flying to Los Angeles, California, in order to.
Sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
for my film debut. I will be featured in a brief scene, a cameo, as they say, in the film version of the film adaptation of Shriver.
Wow!
So I'm going to have a little scene, and it's even in the script. It's actually in the script.
It is in the script.
I'm going to be playing the ukulele. This all sounds very nonsensical, but it's true. I will be playing the ukulele and singing
in the movie version of your book, Shriver.
And annoying the hell out of Michael Shannon playing Shriver and Kate Hudson playing Simone, and I'm gonna annoy them. That's my sole purpose in this scene. And,
so cool.
And there you go.
Chris, that is extremely exciting, and we will absolutely forgive your absence for such an exciting opportunity. And just to remind you all that the pandemic kind of interrupted the filming of Shriver, and so now things are getting going again.
Two-thirds of the way through producing this thing, after 7 odd years of trying to get the thing out, together, and they're 2/3 of the way through. The director had lost a year to cancer, in fighting that, and it came back, and everything worked out. And he's finally on the set. He's making this movie for 7 years. He's been fighting, clawing tooth and nail to make, and then it's like, sorry, you got to stop filming today because pandemic. And then here we are. Gosh, 13 months later, everybody's going back. All these same people. Hopefully, nobody's aged too much. in the past?
Well, this last year, I don't know, Chris.
So, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So they're going back and they're finishing this thing.
Yeah,
it's meant to be. I guess it's meant to be.
It is meant to be. So you guys get excited for Chris. We'll hopefully have even though he won't be with us, hopefully a video message of some fun stuff that's going on. And of course, he can tell us all about it about 2 weeks from tonight when he's back.
Tune in. I'll have stories of like backstage.
Oh, yeah. It'll be great. All right. Well, Chris, we need to get started here. I need to read AJ's bio for us, and why don't we bring up AJ for the reading of her bio? Let's welcome her. Welcome, AJ.
Hello.
Hi. We're so excited to have you tonight. Here, let me introduce you.
Ooh.
A.J. O'Connell is a freelance writer who got started as a newspaper reporter before she started writing books. Her work has been published by NPR.org, The Establishment, and Electric Literature magazine. She's had 2 novellas, Beware the Hawk and The Eagle and the Arrow, published and earned an MFA in creative fiction from Fairfield University in 2011. Her newest book, A Perfect Facebook Life, was published April 6th, this past week, by Woodhall Press, our friends at Woodhall Press. She lives in rural Connecticut with her husband and child, a dog, 2 cats, and a lot of chickens. Yes. So we're so excited to welcome you tonight, AJ. We will leave it to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be back. So thank you, everybody. This is my book. It's A Perfect Facebook Life. And I want to kind of explain what it is before I start reading it, because it's a bit odd if you don't already know. This is a collection of micro memoirs, poems, and short plays that started their life as Facebook statuses, in case you didn't already see my previous readings. I also need to warn you that all of them, because they were Facebook statuses, are very short. I have some longer works in there, so my time may run short. I'll also try and preface some of them. So just so you know, this is what it looks like on the inside. That's how short they are. I'll just get started with one of my favorite hobbies, murder shows. Be yourself so much that if you're ever murdered, Keith Morrison will describe your hobbies in his judgiest voice during your Dateline episode. I'm one of those people. I'm a stereotype who loves murder shows and doing my nails. What else? This one's about yoga class. For a while, I was going to yoga class in town, and I was going with a bunch of people who were quite a bit older than I was, and I had just started. Yoga is about honoring where you are. I'm in a very judgy place, and I'm honoring that. For example, the level of plausibly deniable flirting among our town's retirees is medium to high this morning. Let's see. This one is a longer one. It's about anxiety, which is a good friend of mine. It's called Anxiety, A History. In grade school, I was very concerned about primogeniture. If we were to suddenly become royalty, what would my parents do? I was the oldest, but my brother was the boy. Surely my parents were enlightened enough to know that I would be the better ruler. I asked my mom about this. She deftly handed the query off to my father. In middle school, I was reduced to tears because I worried that my family would be transported back in time, end up on a wagon train, to be killed by dysentery and gangrene. When I was a teenager, I thought the Immaculate Conception was the most terrifying thing in the world. My fear was that it happened often, but only that Mary was good and pure enough to convince the world of the truth. I, a not terribly angelic teenager, would have no such luck. I would tell them, but no one would believe me, and worse, my mom would be pissed. As an adult, I worry about going to play dates and sitting for 2 hours sipping tea with mothers I don't know. Let's see. This one's just a poem about being a grown-up. Hey Siri, play my paying taxes playlist.
I didn't find paying taxes on Apple Music.
She responded, it's okay, Siri, it's cool. Whoops. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't set off a bunch of your Siris. That is... My husband is safely in bed, and I am going room to room, stealing all my good pens back. Okay. This one's called #lasagna bitches, and you'll see why in a minute. You know you need a snack when you misread a Laguna Beach t-shirt as lasagna bitch. And you think for a second you found a kindred soul, a sister, who lives for that pasta, sauce, and cheese layer cake and is clever enough to wear a shirt that looks just like that classic banal aquamarine Laguna Beach t-shirt everyone wore in the 90s. It even has the right font. It has the right colors. It's identical. You found your people. And then your eyes adjust and you're alone again and hungry. Okay. So I think that chickens were mentioned earlier, and I actually just got finished kicking my chickens into their coops before coming in, because you have to, if you don't have chickens, you have to lock them in the coop at night, or else a raccoon will do something horrible to them, or a fisher cat will do something horrible to them. Anything can, chickens die easy. And a long time ago when we started keeping chickens, we moved up here from Bridgeport, and I said, I want chickens. And then I read a poem by Robert Frost about a farmer who loved his chicken. He had a chicken. It was his prize chicken. And I wrote a poem for our rooster. It's hard to love a rooster, I feel like, unless you're really good at loving all kinds of creatures. If you've never met a rooster, you might not understand why. So this is an ode to a rooster, which is much longer than the Facebook pieces that I write. We have one. We've had him for a couple of years. He's a problem, and this is a poem for him. Ode to a rooster. An elaborate crown, jeweled feathers, perilous heels. You're a useless French king of a bird. It's been argued that you and your head might need to be separated, but you're too pretty to die. Clucking benevolently to your girls as I feed them corn, telling them, ladies, look, I have again provided. As if you make it rain food, and you'd hardly make a mouthful yourself anyhow. Sitting atop the hen house, a cliche, a living weather vane, a lovely reminder of so many things. Of morning, of the vulnerability of my shins, and of the fact that cock is not a complimentary term for any kind of a sex organ. Sex, it's one of your two jobs, and you're not that good at it, my little friend. 3 dozen unfertilized eggs we've incubated now. And the hens only suffer your attentions because you're the only game in town. There was one who was into it, but she was killed by a bear. Well, you hid behind your other wives and yelled, hey, someone should really stop this. Beautiful screamer. Protecting the flock is your other job. We've suffered bears, bobcats, foxes, and hawks, and you've watched them carry off your women, calling for help from me and my baseball bat. But it's hard to know if danger is near when you use the exact same voice for wind, rain, mice in the dead of night, songbirds that want your food, the sun, our dog, or just when you have big feelings. The hens have personalities. Your personality seems to be testosterone. But who needs a personality when you've got looks? All right. This is a poem about my mother. But really, I guess it's a poem about me. It's a very short one. I am not a good housekeeper, but I was raised by a good housekeeper. So at least I know how bad I am. All right. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, which might explain how short everything I write is. And just before I was diagnosed, it took a long time if you're a grown up and you don't have parents like driving this, and you don't have a school that wants you diagnosed, it takes a while to get diagnosed. I wrote this sonnet for my ADHD and trying to be a parent working at home during the pandemic with a kid. So it's called A Sonnet for Mommy's Undiagnosed ADHD. Be sure to get the meeting invites out. Mindful of the time zones, you don't want to apologize for emails missent. To important CEOs, men with clout, unprofessional that, then they might guess the state of your mind, your office mess, the lists, clotheslines on which you hang the days, tasks, to-dos. Don't forget your mental haze. And be sure the house is quiet during Zooms. No laughter, no shrieks, the sounds of his cartoons, arguments over school, homework, prepping food, obscure all signs of motherhood. Lash your mind tightly to the task in doubt. Be sure to get the meeting invites out. Let's see. Here's another one. So I am a marketing writer most of the time because you can't write poetry, I don't think, unless you're really, really good for a living. But I also do journalism because that's how I started. And this is called Fancy Lady Reporter. Why, hello. Let me welcome you into my life of journalistic glamour. Here I am, a lady of leisure, reclining in my loungewear at 9:45 p.m. on a Monday, drinking a glass of wine, and interviewing a scientist in the Midwest about the spread of diarrheal disease in drinking water. It's very, very exotic, guys. Friends. Okay. This one's called Follow Me for More Fitness Hacks. The best way to stay motivated during workout is to be chased by a 6-year-old with a handful of snow while you're wearing pants that expose the tramp stamp region. Recently, my kid started playing Nintendo, and I've been playing Mario with him, and I've realized I'm terrible at this. And I swear a lot in everyday life, and I've had to come up with a new list of swears that won't get me in trouble in remote school. So this is an incomplete list of the swears I use while playing Mario 3D World with my 7-year-old. Scheisse, mother of pearl, booger, fudge sticks, Jesu frips, ugh, son of a camel, Benedict Cumberbatch, shaving cream, pancakes, Shih Tzu. Okay. All right. I'll do a couple more. This one is again inspired by chickens. That seems to be a theme today. It's called How Things Change. 9-year-old me thought, I love the rats of Nim. Oh, how I wish a group of super smart rats lived in a tree in my yard. 42-year-old me thinks, hi, the rats are too smart for my traps. Do you have anything with spikes on it? Or rather, I say that when I go to the hardware store. Hang on just a second while I try and... This one's a poem for my husband. As you can tell from the stuff behind me, I love comic books. And that's all the background you need for this. You have stolen my heart, but also my debit card. It's comic book day. I am coming to your job. Okay. See whether I can. Oh, I know, I'm sorry about this. I'm not actually used to holding the book. It just came a couple days ago, and I'm very excited. However, I don't know where everything is because I've been reading from the manuscript for so very long. It's pouring outside, and our basement bisects the water table. I'm standing over the sump pump in our subterranean lake, in our ridiculous Silence of the Lambs farmhouse basement, trying to trip the float switch while not dropping my phone because my husband is called from work about potential flooding. My boots are in the water. My head is in the spider webs. I don't want to know what my non-phone hand is touching. I really don't, and I have to pee. I've almost got it. Almost. And then he tells me, my husband, that he's going to come home from work and do it himself. Oh no, my dude. I haven't watched all the Indiana Jones movies and read Thomas Harris and played all those dungeon levels for nothing. I've trained for this. And the switch trips. And I am not Mom and LuLaRoe and galoshes. I am Samus. I am fucking Lara Croft. I want to wrap up with a poem that I've been refining for a while since we've all been in lockdown. We've been in the house and we kept our kiddo home for remote school. And so we've very much intensely been in the house, like many families, for a while. It's called Parentine. And it is a sort of poem that I just keep working on as we live through this year and our situation changes. So this is the version that ended up in the book. Mom, the small little voice at the top of the stairs, down the hall, right next to my ear in the dim light of morning, on the other side of the shower curtain, 5 seconds after bedtime. Mom, what is it, sweetie? I need someone to socialize me. This tiny copy of me, insistent on our attention at all times, because if his parents don't see him, how can he exist? Mom, who was Henry VIII? Did he invent plums? He invented divorce? Oh, I like plums. Why do people have children? I asked the question once a long time ago, back when people had blogs. I was thinking about it. I was making a list of pros and cons, but having a child is not like buying a Nissan. The pro and con approach doesn't work because it's not about the quantifiable items, the gas mileage and the turning radius. It's not about features like the airbags or the moonroof even. It's something else. Mom, I do not like Frozen. No, why not, buddy? Elsa's bad for the environment, Mom. So I asked, I know why people don't have kids, but why do people have kids? And no one could give me a good answer. They tried. They gave me answers, but they were not real answers. They were not the answers I was looking for. The answers I got were stories about the love they had for their own children, photos of their babies and their grandbabies, and nebulous, unasked for predictions about my own future. Those were answers in a language I didn't speak yet. Mom, we're camping out in the field tonight. There's a bobcat back there, buddy. I don't think that's a good idea. You have to try new things, Mom. I don't have any answers now either. Although my answer is in the air I breathe every day, every minute, at night. I look in and sneak to look at my answer when he sleeps. And I'm in the house with my answer. I'm doing remote school with my answer. I'm finding my answer things to do and people to play with and making my answer wear a mask and providing him with answers and waiting for the time when we can breathe again, even when we're afraid to. Mom, I want to kill the coronavirus. I have great news about washing your hands, buddy. Not like that, Mom. I take pictures too. I try not to offer them up if anybody asks why they should have kids. I know that's not the answer they're looking for. Thank you very much. If you are interested in buying A Perfect Facebook Life, you can go to my website, ajoconnell.com, or just Amazon is a good way to do it. But I really appreciate the fact that you gave me your attention tonight, and I'm really excited to be here.
AJ, what a fabulous reading!
Cover bash, that was good.
I'm stealing that one.
It's so satisfying.
Oh,
Feels
so
good.
good. Yeah, right? Like all those syllables and, just kind of imagine, even just like imagining his like face. It's like sort of works. That's kind of terrible, but
Wow.
AJ, what a fabulous book, and how fun, how funny, how vivid, how real, how totally touching. I remember that last poem, you shared that once before, and it was just the best thing in the world to hear it again. I almost have tears in my eyes. It's so gorgeous.
That's so great. And there's so many things in there that should be T-shirts that I would buy.
Oh my God.
You'll have to share those with me in the chat.
Yes.
We will. I think Woodhall Press should start pumping out some T-shirts with some
Woodhall, get on that. Oh my God,
Yeah.
merch.
AJ is on there.
Magnets, mugs.
Koozies.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Oh, AJ, thank you so much. All right, well, everybody out there in the comments later, AJ, you have to go on Facebook, you got to go on YouTube and just see all of the comments, all the love that you're getting. But everybody, save your questions or put them up there right now, and Chris and I will grab them for later Q&A after our next reader, Elena Dillon, who we're bringing up now. All right. Dum, da, dum. Welcome, Elena.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have you with us, and you have a brand new book. Exciting! Congratulations! And I just want to embarrass my mom a little bit. She is in love with Mercy House, and she's so excited about this series. So we got to ask you about that in the Q&A.
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah. And Chris, can you share with us Elena's bio?
Absolutely.
Introduction?
Elena Dillon is a unbelievably prolific writer. She's the author of Mercy House, which is a Library Journal Best Book of 2020, and has also been optioned as a television series produced by Amy Schumer, starring somebody big.
We're trying to get her to tell us, but she can't.
That's right. The Happiest Girl in the World is out this very month. That's her follow-up novel. She's got a memoir, My Body is a Big Fat Temple, which is a memoir of pregnancy and early motherhood. That is coming in October, but it's available for pre-order now. And then next year from HarperCollins, the temporarily titled A Forgotten Woman is a dual timeline novel about a woman Air Force service pilot and her daughter. And man, that's a lot. Elena's work has appeared in GitHub, River Teeth, Slice Magazine, The Rumpus, the Dr. T.J. Eckelberg Review, and Bustle. She teaches creative writing and lives on the North Shore of Boston with her husband, son, and Black Lab.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Elena.
Thank you. And you guys are so much fun to watch. I just wanted to say that. I love tuning in and listening to you guys. You're such a dynamic duo. You're a great team.
Thank you so much, Elena.
Thank you.
Thank
right.
you.
Now,
And thank you to AJ. So that was such a funny reading. I love it.
That was awesome. Now, Katie, I'm going to remove myself here. Don't remove me, because if you remove me, then I put myself back in.
We have dueling buttons, control
And it's
buttons.
embarrassing.
No, I didn't touch it. He's doing that extreme. All right, Elena, we'll leave you to it.
Okay, thanks. Well, thank you everyone for coming and for having me. So I'm going to do a reading from The Happiest Girl in the World, which is out in a week and a half, but of course is available for pre-order. So this is a book about a gymnast who's training for the Olympics and all of the compromises and hardships that go into pursuing that level of greatness. I started writing it during the Larry Nassar trials, and it just having that horrifying reality revealed to everybody just brought up so many questions about all the things that athletes endure and the ethical implications of it, and not just the sexual assault, although that's a huge part of my book, but also just the general, like the financial sacrifices and the pressure on children, and what happens if your parents don't agree? How do you come to those kinds of compromises? How are the other siblings in the family affected? So those are all kind of questions that I investigate throughout the book. And then there is the issue of the culture of abuse in USA Gymnastics and how that institution was built so that it could harbor that kind of an abuser, and why the athletes were kind of trained in this culture of silence that lent itself to extending over into sexual abuse. And I do have to, because I heard that Pete Nelson is here, I do have to credit him. He's in my acknowledgements as well. But he read a very early version of the book where I was trying to avoid the Larry Nassar situation because I had already written about sexual assault in Mercy House. And it was just, I knew it was going to be very difficult to tackle that material again. And I wasn't sure that I was ready to be in those scenes again or ask my readers to be in those scenes again. But he pointed out that if I wanted to write a book about gymnastics, that to avoid the Larry Nassar aspects and characters like him would be like writing a book set on September 11th without acknowledging the towers. So the novel got redirected, and rightfully so, and I did the hard work, but the book is better for it. So thank you. So anyway, I'm going to start my reading now. I'm going to just begin with the prologue. I never know what to read, but I'm going to start with the prologue and just bring you from the beginning forward. So here we go. I should say that it takes place at the Olympic trials, which are going to be in June. So it takes place in the future now, a couple months in the future. But of course, I wrote it last March. I submitted my latest revisions, my final draft, and then the lockdown hit. And the Olympics were delayed, so I had to do a very quick rewrite and make some predictions about what's to come this year in a very unpredictable year. I'm a little off because I do mention the word crowds you'll hear, and there will not be crowds, but otherwise, hopefully it'll be about the same. So we're at the Olympic trials. I zero in on the spot across the floor, the exact spot, my launching pad. Nothing outside that spot matters. Not the white noise of the crowd, not my family in the stands, not my coach and what he did. It all fades into the background, and I run. I only need to cover 50 feet, but I put all my body strength into crossing that distance as fast as I can. I go to that spot like a cheetah goes for a gazelle. My senses are heightened, and I feel the give of the carpet and the send-off of the spring, and it's as if the mat wants me to stay put but knows I must go, like a good mother, the kind mine intends to be. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and this, a spring floor. As I sprint, I breathe deliberately in and out through pursed lips. My shoulders round forward to make my body aerodynamic, to slice through the air, a human imitating a rocket, and my arms are straight and swimming. Now I am a rocket, courageous and unstoppable, maybe even a little dangerous. I can't think of that now. I'm not allowed to feel on the gym floor. I bolt toward that spot, toward the gold, toward the end of my gymnastics career and freedom and womanhood and a new identity. My arms outstretch and reach for the rest of my life. I hurdle off one leg, dive forward onto one hand and then the other, skimming over them. This part is child's play. I've been doing round-offs since I was 6 years old. I'm building momentum I'll eventually need. Back when I had time for anything other than training and my dad didn't look at me like I scared him, I used to play Super Mario Brothers with him and my twin brother Joe in our unfinished basement. It took 3 jumps to make Mario fly. The round-off is my first jump. When I'm inverted, I swing my legs together and my heels hammer into the floor as one. Jump 2, I bend my knees and throw myself backward. It goes against every survival instinct to jump without looking where you're going, especially when leading with your head. So much about this life has meant working against every survival instinct. More than that, it's meant letting oneself die so another could be born, over and over, reincarnating at every training stage. I've already died at least 6 times to get to this moment. If I speak now, maybe I'll remember who I was at the beginning. Maybe I'll realize who I'm meant to become. I land upside down on my hands and push back to my feet. This motion is effortless. I'm functioning on autopilot, muscle memory. I've been doing back handspring since I was 7. First the sprint, then the round-off, and now a back handspring. I've gathered the speed of a locomotive. My wheels are whirring, my pistons are pumping. Hear that whistle? It's telling you that I can't stop now, so you better get out of my way. Jump 3. I land on the mat and hurl myself backward again, but this time all the gathered energy catapults me more vertically. I've trained so hard and so long, I've defied all reason, even gravity. I've learned to do what no one else can. I've uncovered an impossible secret. I'm flying. Nobody achieves these heights without stepping on a few heads. Midair, I cross my arms over my chest, like a corpse, but never more alive. I tense my core and swivel. Now I'm not just flying, I'm spinning too. a planet both rotating on its axis and orbiting the sun. When my dad first saw this move, he called me a spandex-wrapped football. He used to speak only the language of team sports, not uneven bars and vaults and beams. The day he called me that, I laughed hard and he looked relieved. We shared an understanding, and for an instant, something opened inside each of us and light passed through. My feet, bound together as if by rope, pass over my head and return to their rightful position below me, but they're still hovering 8 feet above the ground. I continue revolving. My name means winged, and in this moment I am. I'm the angel Gabriel, here to proclaim to everyone in this packed arena, not so packed, and everyone watching at home, holding their breath until my feet land, that there is more than the ordinary. There is another way. It takes sweat and blood. It takes failure and sacrifice. It takes a small lifetime. But at the end of that, there is this. There's no shame in greatness. I keep spiraling and circling and soaring. One year, my training paused after a wrist fracture, and I went to my town's annual county fair. There was a ride called Gravitron, and it looked like a flying saucer. It spun, and when it reached a certain speed, the floor dropped out, but centripetal force kept you plastered against the wall. That's what this feels like. I'm a self-contained gravitron. I am a centripetal force. I've hardened in the air. I'm as compact as I can be. When matter is compressed into a small space, it creates a black hole. I'm a black hole. I've sucked out souls. What will happen when I land? I'm too old and tired to come back. I'll never again be the object of a crowd's awe. I'll never again be what the whole world is looking at. A black hole sometimes occurs when a star is dying. Am I dying? And because light can't escape from black holes, they are invisible. I might soon be invisible. Will my success matter when no one sees me? Or will I be alone and haunted by the memory of what it cost to be special for an instant? I'm careening back to Earth now. A back handspring and double twisting double layout are almost behind me. That's a lot of velocity to diffuse and convert. I have to stomp this energy out like a fire. My feet punch into the mat. The impact rushes up my ankles, into the contracted muscles of my calves and thighs, through my hip bones and abdomen, rattles across my ribcage like a xylophone, and vibrates into my raised arms before settling as a pulse in my fingertips. I stuck the standard layout at 9 years old and the double at 12. It took another 2 years before I performed the full twist, and another after that before it became a double twisting double layout. I'm not done, and the next move is the hardest. After the physical exhaustion of that series, I have to take all the impetus garnered from the runs and flips in this direction and reverse its thrust into a front tuck. It's often more horsepower than I can handle. It wants to fuel a larger movement, and I sometimes have to contain it with a stutter step forward. But that single step, one step in a lifetime of many million steps, could cost me 15 years of work. That step cannot be undone. I know that, my coach knows that, my mom knows that, my entire town knows that. They've been discussing this crucial moment for months. And I imagine they're watching me now, those small town people with their 9-to-5s, household chores, and favorite sitcoms, their clear notions of right and wrong, what simple pleasures. I haven't had time to know them as more than people in cars I passed on the way to the gym in the next state, but they know me, one form of me at least. I don't even know the real me. My dad wanted to name me Sarah with an H, a typical everyday name. He never cared about being somebody. He had my mom and his house and his kids, and that was enough for him. My mom hoped I'd be more than her, a housewife without a college degree, and my father, a used car salesman who was too honest to be successful in his trade. More than Waynesville, Indiana, more than just another girl. She wanted me to be a fiery, winged thing. My dad got his name, but my mother got hers too, in what was perhaps their last real compromise. I am Sarah, S-E-R-A, and this is my truth. So that's the prologue, and we'll enter chapter 1 here. In the beginning, we flitted around the gym like dandelion seeds in the wind, skipping, cartwheeling, somersaulting, leaping, arching our spines the wrong way, and tumbling through a back walkover. Our bodies were lean and limber, generous and forgiving. They didn't know limitations, only what they couldn't do yet. They didn't know injury, only elasticity, amusement, and wonder. They didn't know starvation, only hunger. They didn't know the wrong kind of touch, only the guidance of a spotter, the pull of being hoisted up after a fall, a celebratory high five. This was before our voices were stripped. We'd spend decades restoring our diaphragms, larynx, lips, tongues, and teeth. Back then, when we felt whimsical, we pranced the mats like nymphs. When we were dogged, we strutted the perimeter as if we owned the place, like we were child queens, the fantastical kind that jointly, harmoniously ruled over the same land. But instead of from robes, our long legs stemmed from sweaty leotards that were sometimes too small. Instead of crowns, we wore buns and barrettes, our hair secured with pins and enough hairspray to light up the place. The gym was our kingdom, our playground, our altar. The sport was our discipline and our ministry. It was how we rejoiced, Lucy and I. We loved gymnastics in a way other girls didn't. This arrogance, combined with the sheer amount of time we spent at the facility, afforded us authority over those who considered gymnastics an after-school activity, not a lifestyle. We called them pretend gymnasts. We were the real things. Only we knew where Coach Jennifer stored the extra chalk. Only we knew the exact spot on the vending machine to pound when the Gatorade stuck. Only we knew 2018 Olympian Shawn Johnson's middle name. Shawn Johnson, Peanut, America's sweetheart, adorable but powerful, approachable but accomplished. She soared higher and spun tighter than we thought possible. But when she exhaled through pursed lips before routine, and when her face broke into a smile after she nailed it, we imagined her as a normal girl, drumming a pencil as she worked through a math equation, or chatting with her family in a Dairy Queen booth. When it wasn't our turn on the equipment, we recreated the wrap-up interview with Shawn Johnson after she made the Olympic team, alternating who got to be Peanut. As the journalist, I stuck an empty toilet paper roll near Lucy's mouth and asked, "What's it like to be Shawn Johnson right now?" Lucy bit her lip the way we'd practiced in front of the bathroom mirror. "It's amazing. I feel like the luckiest girl in the world." "Happiest," I corrected. It was important, as two future Olympians ourselves, that we got it right. We were young dreamers who thought it possible if we just believed strongly enough, if we just worked hard enough, that we could both triumph in an arena where so few did, where so few survived at all. After I landed my first back handspring on the beam, Lucy's knees popped in and out as if she were doing the Charleston while her fist punched the air. Her face opened with delight and turned up toward the rafters like she was Snoopy from Peanuts. She was maybe 9 years old at the time, almost a year older than me, as our birthdays bookended 1999. Her hair was the color of fox fur, her freckles prominent, and her teeth banded in patriotic braces. It's one of my memory's most genuine examples of bliss, even all these years later. From that point on, we performed her dance whenever we progressed onto a more challenging movement. I did it when she struck a layout step out on the high beam. She did it when I perfected a front aerial. I did it when she was first invited to the Talent Opportunity Program camp, known as TOPS, down at the Prologue Ranch, and she did it when I was accepted the following year. At Elite Gymnastics in Indianapolis, a city home to the headquarters of USA Gymnastics, we were among the few girls Coach Jennifer believed had that special quality. She knew if girls, even at 6 years old, had what it took by the way they held themselves, the fearlessness with which they bounded into new movements, and the grace with which they leapt. Either you had it or you didn't, and Lucy and I had it. Since we both lived an hour from Indianapolis in opposite directions, we had gymnastics to thank for our friendship. The girls at school were poor fools who weren't in on our secret, who hadn't found what we had found, who didn't speak our language. Lucy and I were soul sisters, pure and simple. But in an unclean world, nothing pure remains that way for long. The Ballad Ranch was the epicenter of our country's gymnastics. It was a mecca, the mothership calling us home. Smack dab in the middle of the Texas wilderness, the ranch was an autonomous world of gymnastics, made up of training facilities, forest trails, fields populated with animals, goats, miniature horses, chickens, peacocks, even a camel, and log bunkhouses named for the host cities of the Summer Olympics: the Athens Motel, the Sydney Inn, Atlanta House, Barcelona Resort. There wasn't anything within an hour's drive, not a grocery store, a gas station, a hotel, nothing. The place was devoted to gymnastics and gymnasts alone, and the ideals of those inside were enclosed within a chain-link fence. The rest of the world was not welcome. Parents weren't allowed to stay, and with no cell service, they were nearly impossible to contact at all. In addition to being the official USA Gymnastics National Team Training Center, it also hosted camps for younger girls. They only accepted 50 in each age group, and Lucy and I, against all odds, although it was no surprise to us, were both in. The ranch was going to advance our skills, expose us to new coaches, and of course, Rudy and Vonda Balog, the husband and wife duo who owned the ranch and were two of the most influential personalities of USA Gymnastics. Vonda was the United States National Team Coordinator and head of the Olympic Team Selection Committee. She decided who made it and who didn't. Impressing her and staying in her good favor was the difference between a dream crushed and a dream realized. It was everything. What a story Lucy and I would become, the 2016 Olympians the media fawned over, two best friends from small Indiana towns competing for it all on the world stage in Rio de Janeiro. We'd be on the covers of 17, Time, and Sports Illustrated, arms looped around each other's necks, grinning into the camera. They'd put us on cereal boxes. We'd advertise women's razors and flavored Greek yogurt. And in interviews, we'd tell journalists we feel like the happiest girls in the world. All right, I'm going to stop there and skip forward a couple chapters to the point of view of the mother. So we're going to meet Charlene, which is Sarah's mother, and she's the speaker here. I was 28 and on the verge of going stale when we found gymnastics. Then everything changed, and just in time, too. I was about to lose my mind, I swear it. I was easy on the eyes back then, and that's a blessing, I know. But it doesn't get a married girl out of the house. It doesn't give her something to do. After I dropped the kids at kindergarten, I did the wash, paid the bills, dusted, and took the sweeper around the house. My kitchen was always a mess, but give a girl a break. I was saved by grace, not by works. Then I faced the $10,000 question. What the heck do I do now? Oh, I found silly ways to occupy myself. I watched Oprah and snuck a peek at Jerry now and again, though it'd take a couple spritzers to get me to admit such a thing in mixed company. I strapped a bag of frozen peas to my belly with my robe belt because I read about fat freezing in a magazine but couldn't afford the technology. I cooked, and when I couldn't imagine putting together another hot dish, I had food delivered and transferred it to my Pyrex container so it would look to Bob like I'd made it. Melissa, a woman from down the street, she might be a couple sandwiches short of a picnic, but she's sweet enough, welcomed me to the neighborhood with one of those concrete yard geese. And I said, oh, what a fun idea, even though I thought it might have been the stupidest thing I'd ever seen. But when I got tired of rearranging the knickknacks in my china cabinet, I thought, what the heck, and made Gilda, that's what I called her, Gilda the goose, little outfits and dressed her for all sorts of occasions. Thanksgiving pilgrim, Christmas elf, her Sunday best, and the yellow slicker for when it rained. Looking back on it now, it makes me want to stick my head in the oven. Then one day I picked the kids up from the YMCA, Joe from Pee Wee basketball and Sarah from gymnastics, and Miss Nancy, Sarah's teacher, asked if she could speak to me. I'd scrubbed the toilets that afternoon and looked like death warmed over, plus there were groceries in the car, including a tub of ice cream, so I didn't exactly want to shoot the breeze. You betcha, I said, and hoped my eyes would do their magic of communicating the opposite. Miss Nancy was a round and dense woman, the kind who might have been part of a softball league, and her breasts were as ample as anything. Never mind a chest, she carried around a commercial freezer. Sarah is doing well, flourishing really, she said. I thought I should hope so, because as soon as that girl learned to tumble, she didn't want to do anything else. She cartwheeled across our front yard until the sun went down. Miss Nancy continued, what I mean is she's talented. That's nice of you to say, I said. Joe was beginning to fidget, and I was imagining my ice cream turning to milk. It never refroze right after it liquefied. It always just tasted like ice. I'd have to throw it away, and we didn't have enough in the grocery budget to buy another since I'd already blown a few extra bucks on Noxzema cleansing cream and a tube of toasted almond lipstick. I'm not saying it to be kind, Miss Nancy answered, with more snap than I appreciated, to tell you the truth. I'm saying it because you might want to do something about it. Sorry there. It's been a long day and my brain is fried. I don't think I'm following you. I'm just a YMCA instructor, but there's a gym an hour from here, Elite Gymnastics in Indianapolis. I know it's a bit far, but the coach is very good. Saying heck no would have been bad-mannered, so I said, thanks for thinking of us, but I'm not sure I could fit that trip into my schedule. It's up to you, but Sarah has natural ability, and she's 6 now. Many girls her age have already started training. You might want to consider it before it's too late. Too late for what exactly? For becoming an elite gymnast. Competitions, Junior Olympics, the Excel program, who knows? Well, that just made me sit right back on my heels. Joe dipped his nose into his collar and stretched it, even though I had told him a million times that was a good way to ruin a shirt, hand-me-down or not. Through the fabric, he asked, can we go now? I gripped the top of his head and forced it straight. My Sarah? I asked. Miss Nancy could tell she'd gotten my attention and tossed her hands up. Hey, I'm no expert, but Sarah picks up gymnastics movements like they're the next thing she's supposed to be doing. She could have a future in it, but not here. This is for fun, nothing more. Talk to Jennifer. How about that? I said. When once I'd been in a hurry, now I was hanging around, hoping to hear more words like elite and Olympics. But Miss Nancy had made her case. She was finished. So I leaned over and kissed the top of Sarah's head. This girl, my daughter, could turn out to be something special. Go figure. We sure have something to discuss with Daddy, don't we? Good thing I made chicken biscuit bake, his favorite. Bob wasn't thrilled, I'll say that, but you don't get 8 years into a marriage without learning what to say or how to hold yourself to get just what you want. Pretty soon, instead of my life being a dull swampland of sitting water, I was a spring so fresh he could bottle me. I drove Sarah to Indy 2 and then 3 and then 4 times a week. I met seasoned gym moms who gave me tips on which parents to avoid and which meets to attend and how to keep white leotards from graying. I tailored warm-up pants. I brought brownies to every one of the gym's bake sales, sometimes even making them myself rather than plucking them off the clearance rack at Kroger's. I arranged travel to big competitions. I treated rips and styled the perfect bun that wouldn't interfere with a back extension roll-on floor. Hint, it requires 100 bobby pins and a quarter bottle of hairspray. I bought performance Leos that made even Sarah's rippling abs and cut limbs look feminine. I discovered you could become quite fond of the other girls, but when it came to the moment of truth, you prayed those little presses slipped on the beam so that your daughter would beat them. I mastered the gymnastics scoring system and tracked Sarah's numbers so I knew just what she had to earn on her last event to place. When Sarah performed like a darn rock star, I told her she did just fine so her head wouldn't inflate, and I congratulated the other mothers and their daughters, whether they medaled or not, to teach Sarah that being great was only a few letters away from being gracious. I captured competitions on my phone and touched up the photos myself. I made meals that Sarah could eat on long drives, checked in about her homework and all the items in her gym bag, always, constantly, every day remembering to ask, do you have your grips or are they in your lockers? Too many days cooped up in her cubby gave them that jockstrap stink that was just about impossible to get out. That was a hard sentence. Familiarizing myself with the realm of gymnastics was like learning a different language, a different culture. Soon I wasn't just the person who gasped when a girl fell. I was the person who winced knowingly at the more subtle mistakes, like when a girl missed her vertical on a bars pirouette, or who noticed when a wrist guard came undone during a floor routine. I understood the benefits and ramifications of lifting the difficulty ceiling in the new scoring system. It was like I was the one acquiring new skills. And maybe I was. Maybe that was exactly the point. I was alive. And not just that, it was like I'd been sleeping since the twins were born, and now I was finally awake. And Sarah, well, I hate to boast, but this is just the GD truth. She was a star. She may not have had the fair complexion of her Scandinavian heritage peers, but she was so darn strong, and she had oodles of natural talent and a work ethic to boot. She was so good, she twinkled even without the glitter, but I rubbed on heaps of shimmer just the same because, what the heck, my daughter wasn't going to be the only plain Jane east of the Great Plains. She leapt from one junior Olympic level to the next, and before I knew it, it was Easter Sunday, and Miss Gilda the Goose was still wearing her Uncle Sam costume. There was so much to do, I didn't have time for concrete waterfowl anymore, thank the good Lutheran Lord. So I dragged Gilda's patriotic tail feather to the curb and hoped the garbage truck would haul her off before Melissa from down the road could see what I really thought of that gift. I mean, really, a concrete goose. Good grief. All right, and I think I'll end it there. Hopefully that was enough. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about the book or the process or anything else, I'm happy to answer them. And thank you so much for having me.
Elena, incredible!
I forgot how thick your mouth gets when you read.
Been a while.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Elena, that was just totally captivating. Chris.
Oh, thank you.
Right?
Oh my.
Oh, I have so many
God.
questions too. It's like it's so vivid and real and authentic, and it's like getting into that world.
Yes.
I know nothing about.
Right.
Personally, except watching the Olympics, really. But it's like I feels like I'm inside these people's heads.
Thank you. Yeah. It was I knew very little, nothing at all, and I still feel like I don't know anything at all except what's on the page. But yeah, it was fun to enter those moments.
You'd never guess that it was just like totally.
Right. Well, that's one of our questions. I'm sure it's like
yes.
How did research? Who did you talk to, et cetera, et cetera. Well, let's bring AJ in.
And let's get this Q&A going. We have questions. Woo! And also, let's give another round of applause to AJ O'Connell, our first reader of the night. Ladies, just totally captivating, vivid, and incredibly real stuff. just absolutely fantastic. And of course, both of you later need to go on Facebook, need to go on YouTube, read all the comments, see all the love that you've gotten. And we had some questions already come in during the readings. I saw 2 from JLC Myers. Shout out to Joanna Myers out there. Chris, let me try to scroll back up to JLC's first question.
Yeah, I see one of them.
You got, there's a recent one for Elena.
Yep.
And then there's one further. No, there's one further down for AJ. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. I got this one first.
Which one?
The dueling buttons again.
Okay, you do it. God damn it. You do it.
You know, since we have 2 admins and we never overlap except for when we're pressing the button. The question button. Okay, so JLC Myers has a question for each of you. Thank you so much, Joanna. So the first one's for Elena. How did you balance the research for your work for credibility without falling down the rabbit hole? And also, can you tell us a little bit more about what it took to research this? And do you have any personal experience with gymnastics? Just all of that.
Yeah, sure. I have no personal experience at all. And I knew very little. I had tuned in, like most people, every 4 years to watch the Olympics and to root for the women's team, especially because it's like one of the few sports where women are raised above the men, just like from the get-go. So that's what makes gymnastics really exciting. But yeah, beyond that, I loved the biopics. I loved the spectacle. I loved, watching the routines, but I didn't know anything about it. And then I know a lot of writers have to be careful about not getting lost in the research, and not spending too much time in that world and using it as a procrastination or, just, not actually getting to the writing aspect. So that's not me. I'm like, I might do the opposite, where I really should have learned more before I got started. So I would try, because I knew so little and there's so much to learn. I tried to be very specific about what I was going to be researching and finding, and finding that item and then applying it, rather than immersing and trying to understand the entire landscape of that
before
world.
You're even on your way with the story. Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to capture kind of the spirit of the feeling of the world. So I did read a bunch of different gymnastics memoirs. So that was kind of laying the groundwork. But then when it came to the movements and things like that, I would watch a meet and stop and see, okay, what is that movement? And then Google until I found out what that is. And then I'd watch it in very slow motion to see how it worked. And then I would Google, okay, how to do such and such. And then there would be YouTube videos that just explain that movement, and where the force comes from and how you start it and how you train it. So I would kind of be like a sniper and find okay, I need to learn how to do a double step out or whatever it is. And then I would just, watch those. YouTube is such a great resource for anybody. You can learn how to do anything. And so then I would see a gymnastics coach teaching how to do it step by step. And so find that kind of thing. For the spirit again of the world, I would do kind of more grander things, watching documentaries, podcasts, things like that. And then the best resource I had was I hired Ali Raceman's writer for her memoir, the ghostwriter, to read the book, and that happened twice because, like I said at the beginning, I had really tried to avoid having it be a sexual assault book, so it was very different when I first hired her, and she was just an incredible resource. That was able to first help me with the spirit and the overall vibe.
Yeah.
But then but particularly with technical stuff that I just would have no idea about. For instance, I had assumed that a triple something would be harder than a 2.5 something because it's a bigger number. But then she she pointed out how like way off base that is, because
Like,
the two
no.
you're landing blind, whereas the triple you're coming down and then you're facing the landing. And it's like, so if something that inaccurate was in there, I would have lost complete authority with anybody that knew anything about gymnastics, you know. So she saved me on so many things, and then gave me some good ideas if things were different, or I could ask like particular questions. And then she read it again in the second version. And she's actually going to be, she's a gymnastics journalist and a ghostwriter. She's going to be at my launch event. We're going to have a conversation where she'll ask me questions about writing the fictional version, and I'll ask her questions about like the upcoming Olympics and like the actual gymnastics stuff. So that's a week from Tuesday on April 20th for anyone that wants to attend that event.
Elena, how absolutely incredible in every way. Just everything that you just said was just so fascinating. And I feel like somebody needs, like everybody needs to hire you to give a seminar on doing research and like and like covering all of these incredible bases that must have been such a fascinating and exciting and satisfying process. And I mean, how else could you as an outsider get so fully into that world? I can't imagine how you could have done that any better. And I'm just so fascinated and excited to read this book.
Okay.
And I'm so excited for that incredible launch event. How wonderful, week from Tuesday.
Yeah.
How do people find out about that? Like,
so there's a link on my website, so alenadillon.com.
Nice.
And it is a ticketed event, so it's $20, but it includes a signed copy of the book and the conversation. So
all right, you know what to do, audience. You get in here.
I mean, that's a
Us
bargain.
too.
That's so cool.
That is so great. Well, thank you so much, Elena. That is just absolutely incredible. Let's bring up this question from JLC Myers for AJ. Joanna says, your writing is incredibly engaging and relatable. Totally agree. Couldn't agree more. What is your edit process like? How do you know when a piece is ready for prime time?
Ooh, well, thank you for the question. And before I jump into it, Alena, that was an amazing reading. I love
thank you
so much. That was so good. And I'm so fascinated by this conversation you're going to be having with the ghostwriter. So that's really awesome. Okay, so what is my edit process like? It's different for every piece. How do I know when a piece is ready for prime time? I struggle with this a lot in that I don't really know what done looks like. Getting to a piece to where I feel like I can read it, like the Rooster piece. I knew I needed to read more like longer pieces, because you can't just read like 2 lines for 20 minutes. I mean, you can, but
you could.
it's painful. It's so awkward. But like putting that together, it really is moving chunks around, like getting all the things I wanted to say down, moving things out, reading it aloud. And then for stuff that I haven't had a chance to workshop with other writers, my husband, my poor long-suffering husband, is my audience and my first reader. So I'll be like, Tom, sit down. And then like I get him and I'll read it and he'll be like, and then, or he'll say it's good. I can tell when it connects with him, and I trust his taste enough to be able to be like, okay, this one can go out of the house. But like for the stuff in the book, I knew that I had to work on it several more times, and also that it had to go through Dave, my editor. It had to sometimes pass through my writing group before I trusted that it was tight enough. It's kind of like working on a joke, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah. That's what I was thinking too, because you were talking about it would be painful to hear these short pieces, which is, but comedians, it's particularly like, somebody like Stephen Wright, remember, who just like one after another, but you never got tired of it because it was always really funny, and he knew how to, he knew somehow how to balance it out somehow. So it can be done.
That for the Facebook, because this has gone through like 3 formats by the time it reaches a reading. It starts as a Facebook status, and then it moves into a book. And then after that, you have to find the ones that work well to be read. And there's a bunch of, at least half of the book doesn't read well out loud as one person. It's awkward. So with a comedian, you do try to have like a setup and then your thud. So finding the thud is sort of what I'm always looking for humor pieces, especially for short humor pieces.
Well, every word counts, every syllable counts. When it's something that short, it's like the old thing. Whoever came up with this, I've heard so many different versions, but sorry, this letter's so long, I didn't have time to write a short one, right? It's really hard to get it right.
Yeah, it is. And I know that writing humor as well. Like it's trying to make that, like, I think it's funny. It's funny in my head. Is it funny? So I guess that's the editing process, is like finally getting to the point of, no, okay, it's funny. It's funny.
You're right. Oh, AJ.
Is it hard for you to read it over and over again? Because like for you, then you've heard the joke so many times that like you could lose the sense of the timing, or like where the impact should be. Yeah,
absolutely. Especially, reading it out loud is always the test. And it's been weird doing this virtually because I can't hear the reaction. Like usually I can play to the room. Like even with my fiction, like I'll play to the room and like edit it in my head as I read to the room because I can feel the reaction. For this, I lose track of the joke, or there are some things that are so funny to me that are just not funny to anybody else.
Oh no!
I'll go the other way with that and be like, "This is so hilarious." It's not going to work.
Well, what we should have offered this to you, and I didn't even think about it because, our friend Philip J. Curtis, who is out there watching right now, when he usually reads with us, he said, "Can I have at least one person on screen with me so that I can see a face, I can see the reactions, and I can kind of like be, live in the room in that kind of way." And we should have offered that to you, but it would have just been me. Like I would have needed to mute myself. I was like this the whole time. I don't know if you saw me in the in our little backstage gallery over here.
No, and I'm also reading like off my screen. Like I usually have like 3 documents open and then a book, and so like the whole thing is an ADD like nightmare. Like when I'm reading. So no, I just have to like live with the silence. It's fine. It's good.
Maybe we can get a laugh track for next time.
Oh, Chris, oh my God, that'd be so awesome. Well, Siri was sort of my laugh track, wasn't
that? That was a nice touch. I thought that was meant to have been part of the performance.
It was perfect.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh no.
Benedict Cumberbatch. That was amazing.
Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's what I'm going to start using that.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. So Pete Nelson over in the comments was saying, AJ, we were laughing. So everybody was laughing at home, and you got to go read through the comments. People were loving it.
Heidi said that, man.
Heidi said that.
Oh, yeah. Heidi. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Talking about Russell.
He wasn't laughing.
Sorry, he did the same.
I'm sure Pete was
in a phone booth. It says.
Accidentally hit send before correcting my typos. I'm sorry. What is Pete
Russell
saying?
Baker described writing 800-word columns as trying to stage a ballet in a phone booth.
That's what a great comment, Pete. And Pete just said he was laughing too. I'm so sorry for misreading that.
He was laughing so hard that he couldn't type it coherently. But there you go.
He made a typo, yeah. Oh my goodness.
Here's a question. We got Kat Strapp asking Elena, do you work on more than one manuscript at once? It sounds like you work on like a bunch at once. You've got so many things.
Incredible.
On the stove and coming out.
While researching and interviewing.
Yeah. I work on different things because they're all in different stages, but I don't work on more than one project in like the creation aspect. Like if I'm going through a book, I'll only work on that. But like there's multiple projects now. So I'll have to do like a line edit for one, if there's a book coming out, but like the actual grit of writing and creating, I only do one at a time. And I'd love to just do one at a time, but like for everything, because I love immersing and just being in that world and being with those characters and not having to switch back and forth and find the new vibes. But like book creation takes so long. Like I don't think I realized that until I experienced it. But like when you submit a book, it might not come out for 18 months. So like, and then when you submit the final edit, it could still be a year in advance.
Exactly.
So like you have to, send it off, and then it goes on to your editor, and they'll come back with big edits, and then you'll have to do those, and then it'll go for copy editing, and then first pass pages, and then so like you get like little nips throughout the whole process, and you have to be working on other stuff in between, or else like nothing will get done. So in that way, I do juggle, but in an ideal world, I just finish it and then it'd be out in the world immediately. But that isn't how it works.
Right. Oh, that's so fascinating, Elena. And such a great look into how long it takes. Like the world of poetry is a little different, but still everything is scheduled so, kind of so far out. From when you submit it, it could be, a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years to when it, is actually out there on sale.
And then when you're doing like readings and stuff and you're getting questions, it could be about things that like you worked on 5 years earlier. So like I found like even last week or 2 weeks ago, I had to like sit down and go through page by page to like reorient myself with the book. Right. I'd forgotten it'd been over a year since I'd really dealt with the meat of it and like the research and all the questions I'd been grappling with.
And now that you just did that 2 weeks ago, so your book is coming out like next week or a week and a half or something. I mean, when you read that 2 weeks ago, were you like, oh, I wish I could change that line?
Yeah, I always find that. Yeah, like, I wonder if it's because like you evolve as a writer, right? Yeah. So like, if it's been a year now since I've submitted the final edits, so like maybe I've like altered even like in a small way, or like I have new things that annoy me about sentences that I construct, or like different things are on my mind, So like, yeah, I'd go through and like, oh, I would hack that off right now, but like, too late. What about you? Like you have your movie coming out, and like, do you go back to Shriver and wish that you had made changes? Now it's going to be like,
well, it's fun. I didn't write the screenplay, but there's like changes in the screenplay that I think, why didn't I think of that?
Why didn't I write that?
Well, that's a good idea. Shoot.
Well, it was still your ideas that birthed these ideas, so you get credit for it.
There's always a second edition, right?
Well,
there is the movie tie-in edition.
Right.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question for AJ.
AJ, how does TW feel about being in the book? He seemed very excited in the photo.
Yes. Well, he was very excited. This book, like Lena said, this book has been going on for a long time. And so when I started the book, he could barely read. And now he reads quite well. And he knows that I've written other things that he's not allowed to read because they have swears in them. And other things.
Not Benedict Cumberbatch.
Not Benedict Cumberbatch. So he's excited about it. I've been careful about the things I included, even though there's a whole bunch about TW. He doesn't go by TW in school anymore. So the fact that that's not something that is his like name hasn't yet come out. I was really worried about like the Christopher Robin effect. I don't know if you guys know that Christopher Robin was haunted by the house at Pooh Corner. As he moved through his life, like he was tormented at boarding school. Like, I don't think I'm going to get that famous. Like, I don't think the House of Pooh Corner at all. But I do know, like, after reading about Christopher Robin's life as a grown-up, and even the fact that his life is still being turned into movies now, or like a fictionalized version of it is still like co-opted by Disney, and he's dead.
God.
I was careful about what I included, but TW currently is very excited that Mommy's an author. And you guys didn't see him, but when Elena was reading for a little while, he popped in.
I saw him in the backstage.
He'd like come up over the desk before bedtime. And I was like, that's Elena Dillon. He's like, okay. So he's very into it now, but I suspect in a few years he's not going to be quite as into it.
I disagree because I think your book and your books are awesome, and I think he'll continue to be really, really proud of that. And perhaps, you know,
his mom.
do some writing.
I sing Spice Girls.
If you as long as you're like getting books out there and that people are paying attention to you, you're doing readings. I mean, kids are very excited about that stuff. It's like you're a celebrity.
I think so. AJ, I have a quick, like, sort of little tag-on question that I'm dying to ask you. Elena was talking about the publishing process. Now, you had been publishing a series of books of novellas.
Yep.
And this is a kind of a departure from that into poetry, into like flash nonfiction. And what was it like getting into this genre? And how did this book happen? Tell that story. You told a bit about it before. I'm very excited to hear.
Okay, so I'm in the habit of farting out books that I didn't mean to get rid. I didn't mean to write. Like, like, this is what happens. Like, I am constantly trying to write a serious novel or a not serious novel. Like, and I constantly end up publishing like other projects that I did in the margins when I was supposed to be working on my novel.
Which are fabulous works that
I know. And I was talking, like, I've talked about this with my therapist. No, I did. I was like, I don't know. I keep working on novels and like keep publishing everything else. And she was like, well, maybe creativity is just happening when it happens. Like, because it happens. Like, if you can't concentrate on your novel because you can't concentrate on your novel for attention reasons, then the creativity comes out sideways in different ways. So like the other two books, this one was solicited. One of our MFA colleagues had read a book of micromemoir, Matt Winkler, and was like, you write better micromemoir on Facebook.
Woo!
He emailed me and was like, hey, you should send this to Woodhall. They're doing their contest. I was talking to the Woodhall guys and I mentioned you. I was like, Matt and I didn't know each other that well. I was like, okay. So
thanks, Matt.
And I put all of my Facebook posts together and was like, well, what the Benedict Cumberbatch? Like, why not? What do I have to lose? Like 6 hours on a weekend, I'll do it. And like, we were watching My Little Pony and I was sitting there like pulling things off of Facebook, like trying to make them a little bit more readable. And I had too much material for the first time, I think, in my whole life.
That's incredible, AJ. And as your friend on Facebook, I have to heartily agree that I'm really excited to read this because I have enjoyed your posts for all these years.
So that's how that happened. And then when I didn't get the award, like I didn't win the thing, I was a finalist. And I was like, okay, well, it was just a bunch of Facebook posts. And then I got a call from Chris Madden at Woodhall. And was like, hey, can we publish this? I was like, hey, yes, we can.
Let's do this. All right.
Sure. And then I called my mom. She was like, they're publishing your Facebook? Your uncle's saying you need to do something with that. Yeah, they're publishing my Facebook.
That is just absolutely incredible, AJ. I love that. I love that story. And I like what you just said about creativity happening.
It just is sort of, I think if you're gonna create, you're gonna create somehow. You might like have been in the MFA program, but you might be like in a place in your life where you're cooking or knitting or like painting a room, which has not happened here, but like, or writing on Facebook.
Amen.
That's what happens. And that's what happened.
Yes.
You know, there's so many people who are not creative on Facebook that if you're creative, you're really going to jump out at people, you know, and make an impression. But I mean, it's just a good example of, you know, you never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
You know, if you're a creative person, somebody's going to notice.
That's right. All right. We are getting close to 9:30, our ending time. So Chris, I'm thinking let's give these ladies plenty of time. Oh, wait. I have a quick question for Elena before our famous last question. Elena, Sorry. Detour. Elena, I'm dying to know a little bit more about the Mercy House series, which is happening. Can you give us a few little deets that you can share?
Sure, yeah. So it's still in production. I was commiserating with how long like if you think the book process goes a long time, the Hollywood process is just like so long. And I'm somebody who likes to work constantly, and I have no control over that at all. So it would drive me crazy if I thought about it too much. So that's probably why I channel all of my energy into just like more book projects that I actually can get my hands dirty on.
Yeah.
So it's happening. The screenwriter just had a baby, so now there'll be a slight pause because life happens. But yeah. But I know that she finished the pilot before she had the baby, and so the first script is done, and they are now considering casting. So like they want to cast Sister Evelyn. They want to get a star attached so that when they present it to the network, it's more likely to get picked up as a package, because they're like, Amy Schumer, screenwriter, star, and like, you know, we're ready to go. So it's all about kind of like strategy and sales. So I think they have somebody in mind. But that's as much as I can say.
Thanks, Elena. That's so exciting. So fans of Mercy House out there, get ready. The series is in the works. Well, Chris, maybe now.
Can I ask Chris a question?
Yes, ask him.
So for your cameo, was that something you negotiated in your contract? Was that your idea? They all
there was no negotiating whatsoever. It's just I've been, you know, in touch with the director who also wrote the screenplay, you know, all along, and you know, dropping subtle hints for, you know, 7 years of like, you know, okay, this happens. I want to, you know, I'd love to come out and like check it out. And he'd be like, yeah, you know, you come on the set, and then I'd be like, you know, and I could get like a little, you know, just like I
have a ukulele.
Just bring it out.
Honestly, I don't know how it got to that stage. It was just, I was just going to be like sitting in an auditorium with, you know, 100 other people or something in the front row, maybe, so that, you know, people who know me could spot me. That was all I was hoping for. And all of a sudden it became this thing where I'm actually singing a song that I wrote, you know, in amongst these people, that hopefully doesn't end up on the cutting room floor. But you know,
wait, which song?
It's a song I wrote. It's called The Ballad of Shriver. It's about Shriver.
Oh my God, I love it. I can't wait.
I play a Shriver fan who's sitting there playing a song about Shriver. So
that's amazing.
I love it.
Are you nervous?
Am I nervous?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm terrified. Are you
kidding? So I wasn't sure. You seem so cool about it.
Well, you
Chris
know,
always seems cool. That is his aura.
That's my aura. Inside, it's like a furnace. Fear.
That's going to be such an amazing experience.
Constantly.
We're excited.
Tune in a couple of weeks, and I'll talk all about it. And you know, who knows?
Wild. Well, we're so excited for all of these big things. Both AJ, Elena, your incredible new books coming out this month, and the series, Elena, Chris, the movie. This is, you know, just awesome things are happening. But we have a famous last double question to ask both of you.
And I think you guys have been on the end of this before, but
True.
That's right. It's been a while.
It has been a while. You know, there are always more pearls.
As Elena says, she's a different person than she was.
True.
You know, we provide different answers sometimes. Yes, we have our famous pearl of wisdom question.
We've all been changed this year, I think.
So true. And maybe
you can say that again.
Affects how we look at this, but pearl of wisdom for writers. Imagine yourself on Ender's Island in a workshop, looking at those faces of those young, maybe not so young, but naive anyway, faces looking at you. What kind of pearl of writing wisdom will you give us, oh wise Yoda writer? One thing, and then part two, a book recommendation. So, but pearl of wisdom and book recommendation.
So maybe we'll start with AJ and then Elena.
Oh man, the book recommendation is going to swamp me because there's so many good ones. The pearl of wisdom. The pearl of wisdom that I would give, I think, is probably the same one that I give all the time, is be kind to yourself. There's a lot of like, why aren't you writing? You can't be a writer if you're not writing. Like a lot of like smacking. Life happens. We all have things that we need to do. We all have hurdles we need to get over. If you're going to be kind to other people because you don't know what they're going through, just honor where you are. When you're on the island, it's very easy to get into this intense, like, I must write, I must create, I must make diamonds out of this coal in my head. And that is, I have discovered, like I said before, the creativity is going to erupt no matter what. And if you're kind to yourself, then it is easier to be creative.
I love this pearl. So good.
Yeah, you have to relax. You have to relax to get the creativity. That wasn't where I was going, but that's what I'm saying.
No, I know what you mean. I absolutely know what you mean. I totally agree with you, AJ. I think that is such wisdom, and to be able to write and to be focused, to be inspired, to feel that inspiration. Plenty of writing is work where you just got to get down to business, maybe work on edits and stuff like that. But to really get that idea out of you, you need to be kind of in flow. You need to have that inspiration. You need to have the spirit move, so to speak, and that can't be forced out of you, from my perspective.
And you can't you can commit to a project and then have to do the work.
Yes.
But I also feel when you're getting started on a project, sometimes things aren't going the way you need them to go, or maybe it's not the right project for you.
Yeah.
And because when you get into that mindset of like, I must make this project work, you're not going to be creating as well as you can. So I'm not saying flip from project to project. I'm just saying find the project that speaks to you. Maybe it's not the project you think you should be working on. Maybe it's a project that calls to you, and then commit to it. And that is why you should be kind to yourself. So for book recommendations, I'm a terrible person for this conversation because I read not what I write.
That is not terrible at all. You tell us what books you like.
Read Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. It is, I said this in another interview recently, it is a fantasy, but it's American, like Native peoples inspired fantasy. And it is so good. It is not fake France. It is not fake England, like we get in many fantasy settings. Yeah. It is amazing. And I found it to be a mind-blowing fantasy because it was built on cultures that we're not used to seeing in fantasy. There are so many different own voices fantasies coming out. But that was my favorite of last year, and I want everyone to read it. It's so good.
Great. Tell us the name one more time. The title one more time.
Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse.
Nice. Thank you so much, AJ.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. And Elena, pearl of wisdom and a recommendation.
So I would say, because we're talking to people at Enders, to use this time to collect future readers. Because I'm somebody who my writing process, I really rely on readers' feedback. I could tell that there might be something off in my project, but I can't pinpoint what it is, and I need an outside perspective. And as soon as somebody kind of plants a seed in my brain, then I can go, if it resonates with me, then I can, move forward from there. But I need them to lift the curtain first for me to see it. And then as soon as they do, then I see it and I could try to find a way forward. But like those are really valuable people, and they're hard to find. And you are now in a position where you are surrounded by them, and this is your network. And so like find writers that you admire and that you like to work with, and make that relationship, so that when you are no longer surrounded by writers who like that have that, you don't have that easy access, you can still continue to work virtually, as I'm sure everyone has gotten really good at doing this year, especially. So that's my nugget.
Good
and
one.
then for the book today, I just finished. I do mostly audiobooks because the time that I'm not writing, I'm chasing, and so I'm mostly audiobooks, but I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. And I just finished today one called Valentine, which was really well performed. It was a multi-voice audiobook, which I love to have like all the different narrators perform them. And the setting was really distinct. It was in this like dusty small town of Odessa, Texas in the 70s. And it was about sexual assault, which, resonates with me with my work right now. And told from the different perspectives of the town, and very character driven and literary and beautiful writing. I can't think of the author's name, which is a terrible quality from audiobooks, because you don't pick up the book and see the author's name all the time. But the book was called Valentine.
Nice.
Dusty Texas Valentine, like the many author.
There you go. People will find
That
that.
author. That is so great. Thank you so much for that excellent pearl, Elena, of gathering your readers, people you trust, who are going to give you that feedback that's going to resonate, that is going to help propel you forward, and write your best stuff and edit well. And thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, no, I really feel like writing is a collaboration, and so you need collaborators.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just from the four of us here, from how many people who have commented upon, read, influenced our various works, it's a whole community, and they wouldn't be what they are, these publications, etc., without that influence. It's like a solitary work as a writer, but such a communal work as well.
We got a note here. Is it Elizabeth Wetmore?
Yes.
Okay, Christine.
Thank you,
That
Christine.
comes to the rescue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Wetmore, Valentine. All right.
Fabulous. Well,
We have very literate viewers.
We certainly do. We certainly do. We want to thank you both for being our guests tonight, A.J. O'Connell and Alena Dillon. One more round of applause. Yes.
They both nailed the landing.
We're so excited for your books. All of you out there need to go get these books, and need to watch out for everything that's coming next, including Chris's movie Shriver coming soon. And thank you so much, audience, for joining us at 8 p.m. again. We have our time change. Anybody who missed this can watch on Facebook or YouTube, where it will be archived forever. And ladies, you got to go read the lovely comments, all the love, see all the emojis up on Facebook and YouTube for you. And I will be back next week with Pete Duval and Anton Yakolev. And we just want to wish you all a great night. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Congrats, guys.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Night.